Hi everyone. Welcome to my second Christmas compilation video. My first Christmas compilation video put out a few weeks ago is more complex, more difficult soaps. Not anything extremely hard, but definitely more involved. So these are intended to be easier soaps, easy enough for you to make for gifts for friends and family, for teacher gifts or hostess gifts, or just to decorate your bathroom, or even just crafting with your kids or your friends, because crafting is fun. And if any of you are brand new beginners and you've never touched melt and pour soap, you might consider watching my beginner compilation, my beginner melt and pour soap making compilation video. I will link that at the end. It is a long video like this one. It's a compilation of a lot of my very beginner tutorials. So that could help you out if you've never used melt and pour soap before. Even right down to choosing the kind of soap you'd like to use. Um, but it will give you also guidance with fragrances and colors and things like that. This one, um, this is a set of, like I said, basically Christmas gifts. Some of them are more ideas. So if you see these, you might become inspired for something else you might be able to do in making gifts for your friends um, and family and whomever. So hopefully these are self explanatory enough to get you by. If not, please feel free to ask questions in the comment section, and I will do my very best to answer you. It has been a while since I've done several of these because they're at least two, some of them are 2 Christmases ago. Anyway, I'll do my best to remember if the details aren't evident in the video. And if not, I'll rack my brain and see what I can remember and try to figure out something for you, some kind of an answer. Anyway, the purpose of this video is for you to be inspired, to give you some ideas for Christmas time. You don't have to do everything in the exact colors I do them. These are just suggestions, these are just ideas. So hopefully that can inspire you to make some gifts, have some fun crafting time with your friends or with your kids, and help you enjoy the season a little bit more, and maybe save you some money in making a few of your own gifts. That can always be helpful. Hey everyone, Merry Christmas. Here's a quick little last minute video for some ideas if you're bored or need a couple of quick gifts. This is assuming, of course, that you already have some kind of soap base sitting around and a mold. Kind of probably a little too late to try to get those, but you never know. You might find a sale at Michael's or one of the other craft stores. You might be able to pick up something there. As you see, many of you have seen this footage before, so some of this is redone. I am just making crystals. This is how I make my crystals. And the reason you saw me angling that knife and playing around with it at the beginning is I'm showing you that I am cutting on an angle for the first cuts of these. I cut them into larger crystals on an angle, and I angle it and I vary the angle as much as possible and alternate back and forth so that they're not all the same angle and they don't end up looking square. We're going for more of crystal points or crystal facets, something that just doesn't look like cubes, which is very easy to get to if you're just chopping regularly like you normally would just chop soap. Sprinkling a little bio glitter. It's actually really glittering mica. There are several other names for it, and I keep saying I'm going to put it up on the screen, and I forget. There'll be nothing on the screen today because these are do with what you have kind of soaps right now, since we're very last minute on these. And they're just ideas to spark your creativity. So I was picking up those crystals, the larger ones, to just show you how it catches the glitter on the edges of the facets. And that's one of the reasons I do it this way. I prefer to do it this way rather than shaking it in a bag. You can do that as well. I just like that look. And then I created the smaller crystals by chopping straight or angled. You can do either one at that point. Once you get the angles on the first cuts, you can just straight up and down chop and make them smaller, because they already have some that are off and are not 90-degree angles. I'm pouring my soap fairly hot. You'll see me dividing it. That's because I was doing several different types of soap, as you may see. At the end, I will be linking my playlist that has, I'll do the seasonal playlist. It has all of those soaps that you see there. If you're interested in learning how to do those. I popped in my fragrance again. Use what you have. I prefer a fragrance that smells kind of like a Christmas tree if I'm doing Christmas trees. So that's what I used. And the basic instructions for this is I pour about half and then shove a handful of crystals after I've rolled them in glitter a little bit. And I push them into, try to get them into the corners specifically of the mold and fill it up. And then I usually end up topping it off a little more. You could go aim for like 2/3 when you're filling the cavity before you add the crystals, but I always start with half and then put more on top. You do want to pour a little hotter than you would with a lot of soaps, because the minute you put a fistful of crystals into that mold, it's cooling the soap that's already there. And it can sometimes cool too quickly if you're not careful. So I wouldn't pour it normally. I would be pouring a soap with embeds at like 127, 126, something like that. But this I pour at about 130, 133, and that's using Crafter's Choice soaps, which have a lower melting point than some. For the rose quartz one, all I did is I did white at the top, kind of a rose gold in the middle, and more of a pink at the bottom. You don't have to do it that way. I like, if I'm doing a layered effect for a gemstone look, I like to put the lightest at the top, because then it kind of looks like a snow-covered tree, in my opinion. So that's the way I do it for soaps like that. I do the same with my amethyst. I just use shades of purple instead. White at the top, a lighter purple in the middle, and a darker purple on the bottom. And you can manipulate them if you're working kind of quickly. Just either take a stick or a spoon or a spatula that's small enough to fit into your mold, and just you kind of move them to the side. If you want them to stay at the top, you move them at the top, and when you put the next set of crystals in, they're not going to have anywhere to go by the time you get all of those in there. And then again, I top it off with a little more soap. You might want to double check and make sure that soap at the end is also still pretty hot. I wouldn't worry about it melting your crystals unless you're only putting a few in there. But the soap going on the back, if it's not poured hot, it's just going to come off as a layer that did not quite adhere when you go to take it out of the mold. So you saw me trimming with the knife. If there's any crystals on the back, I like to trim them because it makes it a lot easier to wrap and label. If there's a bunch of lumps sticking up, it makes it quite difficult to have a label on the back, which is where I put my ingredients list. This one, I was kind of going for the look of, I don't know how to say it, kyanite, I'm not sure, but it is one of my favorite gemstones. I just don't know how to say it. Kyanite is how you spell it. But I do make a regular set of crystals that I have a variety of designs for. And this is one of them. It doesn't look like this at all. It actually looks like the real stone. And that's something I'll be doing in the new year, is showing you how I come up with my crystal designs. Again, this one is kind of more generic. It's rose quartz, and as you know, rose quartz sometimes has regular quartz in there as well that doesn't have the coloring, the iron oxide coloring in it. So the colors will vary quite a bit, and you'll have some white quartz or clear quartz mixed in. And that's just kind of a generic way to show that. I think it's easily recognizable as rose quartz. it's not necessarily going for a reality look with these, but just indicating if you see, especially something like this, that it's a Christmas tree, but you can tell it's supposed to be rose quartz, I think anyway. But yes, I do plan on making a video in the new year, fairly early on in the new year, about how I design my crystal soaps, because I've shown you several different techniques, not all of them. But it's more about, to me, it's more about the research of what does the stone look like? What does it look like in its raw state? What does it look like when it's polished? And then trying to figure out a way to try to replicate that look in soap. And I'm excited for that video. Anyway, these are the ones I made for this year. These are just ideas you can do, as you'll see here. I've got pictures of a variety that I did in crystal trees. But also, you'll see in a moment, I've done several other Christmas tree designs. Some of them you've seen the videos for, and I will link those, of course, but in the playlist for my seasonal soaps. But also, there's some you have not seen, and if I get a chance to, as these kind of fly by, because I did put a lot in here, as they go by, I want to tell you a little bit about how quickly you could do these, because some of them are just not that hard. This one is in a video. It's in my video that I made the little presents, Christmas presents, Christmas gifts, and same with this, because I'm sorry, it was the ribbon candy, not the presents, the ribbon candy soaps. This is called a crushed velvet look, and this is the one I do, kind of imitating the resin look, and it uses saran wrap or Glad wrap or whatever cling wrap, some kind of plastic wrap to get the wrinkled look. And I do have several tutorials on this look, and as you see, I did several colors. This is my other resin look that you use a little dropper, a little pipette, and put clear little drops on a layer of clear, and then you back it up with mica and black soap. I also have several tutorials on this look, and most of the time they are also tutorials for the crushed velvet look, because I was going for a resin theme. These are just plain ones. You see I added little stars. Those little stars were just cut using a little, oh goodness, now I can't think of the word. A little cutter, a little mini star cutter. The little bulbs in all of these, those are just made in the ends of the massage bar, the little nibs. I just made them there, and then made a clear layer, popped them in, added more clear when that was set up, and then added white over the back. The singing Christmas tree, that one will take a tutorial for next year, unless you just want to go for it and try it. These are just sheets of thin soap rolled up and popped in place where I wanted them. These are obviously, well, I guess obvious to somebody who's seen it before. These are my shredded trees. These are the shredded soaps. You can take, you can make the colors of soaps you want and shred them and combine them in different combinations and add a little glitter and put them in. I do the same thing. Fill it about half full, put a fistful of shreds in there, and there you go. I hope you enjoyed this and got something from it, and I hope you enjoy whatever holidays you celebrate. Thanks. Bye. Hey everyone, let's make some Christmas tree soaps. This is the first of at least 2, maybe more videos, I don't know, making some Christmas trees. As usual, if you aren't familiar with my tutorials, I put up the information on the products on the screen. Usually there may be a few things omitted here, and I will try to catch them as I go with my voiceover. I'm basically doing a technique you've seen me do before, or at least some of you have seen me do before, and it's the technique that we borrowed from the world of resin art. There is no resin in these soaps, or even used in the making of them, not making any kind of mold out of them or anything. It is just a technique, a design technique that a lot of resin artists have used to create a crushed velvet look. and it's a really cool technique. I'm also doing the raindrop technique as well. We oh, real quick, I'm saying up there a little bit of instructional stuff. It says to fill each cavity halfway. You can do this in so many different types of soap molds. I just want to note that the trees, you do need, I'm not going to say you have to, but it's better if you cover the tree trunk slightly. You don't, aim for half full, and it usually will. It won't totally ruin the soap, but you will have black trunks if you don't put the soap up over it just a little bit, so that you get some of the wrinkled look there. That's where your color is going to come in. So if you, and it doesn't even have to be black, because you can use a darker color. So you could use a brown, or a really dark brown, or really dark green or blue, something like that for these. Feel free to experiment with that. But if you're first trying it, I would definitely go with black if you've never done this technique before. What you see me playing with up there on the screen is basically just Glad wrap, Saran wrap, some type of plastic wrap. If it is made to be safe enough in the microwave to cover your dishes and put food in the microwave, it's definitely going to be safe enough to put in your hot soap. So I don't want you worrying that that's going to melt into your soap. It does not. You could possibly miss a piece when you're pulling it out if you aren't careful. So you do need to be careful as you're removing it. And I'll talk more about that when it comes to that point. I'm filling the other molds up halfway with soap as well, using the clearest melt and pour you can. I really highly recommend the one I put up on the screen, the Premium Crystal Clear, for many reasons. But I'm sure you can do this with other premium or ultra, the clearest of whatever your brand is. And I'm not really talking much about your fragrance oils and stuff like that, because you can use whatever fragrance you like, as long as it is skin safe, soap safe, has IFRA recommendations, has been approved by IFRA, or has a recommendation from IFRA. Any reputable soap supply company will have this information. So if you can't find it somewhere, then there's probably, it might be a questionable company you're buying from. You want to be able to find that information easily. If you need more on that, please go to my beginner playlist and review the video I have talking more about what is IFRA and fragrances and tips for all that. The reason I'm kind of just recommending you to start at 1% is because I'm hoping for this to be a very beginner-friendly kind of tutorial, and that's kind of a safe percentage to use per pound, 1% per pound. And as you see here, all I'm doing is dotting on clear soap. I would use it hotter than what you normally would pour for whatever your soap base is. My soap base, I normally try to get it. The melting point is between 120 and 125 for my soap. And I usually try to get it up to about 127 when in the microwave, maybe 128, depends. And sometimes it needs to be a little hotter for certain types of pours. So I try to get this to about 130 to 133 for the piping of the little dots. You'll see here, I don't know how much detail you can see on here, but there are a couple of little mess ups in my dots, and I kind of leave them. I don't apply the colorant, the mica, to these, but I leave them alone because I can come back later and do it. I just didn't feel like doing it then. That's why I had, excuse me. That's one of the reasons I had an extra mold over there and had a little extra pour over because I thought just in case I didn't feel like having to redo everything for the video. So real quick tip on this, not only do you want to use fairly hot soap, but you want to keep your pressure that you're squeezing with fairly even. Don't allow air to come back in and squeeze out. Fill the little pipette and then keep your pressure even. Don't ever allow it to suck back up in. You'll just get air bubbles and it will frustrate you. If you get an air bubble on one of the little dots that you make, try to pop it right away because it will set up very fast and you will have an air bubble. It's not the worst thing. It will just be a very different look. So it's, not the end of the world. So as you see me struggling there a little bit, I just want to point out you might pull up a little bit of soap with it. You might struggle a little bit in places to get the saran wrap out. Just keep in mind I'm going very fast here because I doubled my speed. So take your time and wiggle it lightly, lift it. Think of lifting and instead of like just jerking it out if it sticks. I'm applying mica to this layer now that is wrinkled from the saran wrap. Also, real quick tip before I talk about the mica. When you're putting the saran wrap in, aim for the center first. Get the center in without air bubbles, and then you can kind of gently pull inward toward that, and it's easier to avoid the air bubbles if you work that way. That's that. So the bottoms of the trees, I used Magic Beans by Mad Micas. I am affiliated with Mad Micas, and if you make a purchase through my links that are in my description box of the video, I will receive a small percentage without additional cost to you. It just helps out my channel and helps me keep things going. I'm using a variety of colors in here. The reason I used Magic Beans, not only is because I wanted a little brown trunk on this particular set, but it is a duochrome mica, which is the best micas to use. Not necessary, but it is the best micas to use for this kind of look. As you see, these first three, the only duochrome color I'm using is the Magic Beans, which is kind of a brown. It can reflect a little bit of red and green, depending on which way you turn it. The overall look of it is kind of a brown, so I wanted that for the tree trunk. The rest of these, and I list them as I go, which colorants I'm using. They might have a little bit of color shift to them, but they're all traditional micas. I chose a variety of greens for the green because if you don't have a duochrome, I really recommend using a variety of colors, a variety of shades of the same color or variations on it. I did put a little of the Sharika Moon in this one and one of the other kind of color shifting micas in another one, but it's not the overall colorant. It doesn't show up that way. It's almost like a glitter, like maybe a micro glitter. It's just a heftier chunk size, micron size of the mica. So you can't just use that. You have to use a traditional, really fine mica or you're going to see black spots. So just keep that in mind. If you do add one of them like, is it Color Me Aqua? No, that's not the name of it. I can't think of the name of it. Sparkle Me Aqua, Sparkle Me Red, any of those from Mad Micas, those are the heavier or larger grain. And while they do add a wonderful effect, don't just add those. Add a little bit of those, sprinkle it in, and then come back with a finer micron size mica. Because you want to cover the entire surface, and those larger ones will shift around and it won't get full coverage. And that's another reason to go back in with a variety of colors is because you're going to catch any little spots that weren't covered. Go in every nook and cranny. Go back at least 3 times. When you think it's covered, go back again. Don't just dump it in there. I mean, you really want to brush it in there, work it in well with the brush. as you'll see in a little bit, one of the other important things is to then remove any excess mica. And you don't want to like scrape anything, but if you use a brush, you're going to get any loose mica. It's going to stick to the soap very well. And whatever you put down first is going to stick. So if you want multicolors like I did, leave open spaces. You can't just layer it. You have to spot it around a little bit and fill in spots with one color, and just be aware that the first color to touch the soap is going to stick. Now here we go with an actual duochrome mica. And you'll see in the results what happens with these. They're really cool. When you're using a duochrome mica, that's all you need to use. You don't need to add other colors. You can for sure, but you can even kind of tell already here in the camera, although they are hard to pick up on camera. You can see a little bit of green in that, a little bit of red, and a little bit of brown. That one is more red and green, less brown. I'm not sure the camera picks that up that well, but I'm on to this little blue one, which is just another way to show that you can kind of do like a gradient with them. So that's another way to use multicolors in there. It makes it more interesting. It really creates a beautiful look. When we get to the second part of this, make sure to follow those instructions carefully, because it really will give you a kind of a jeweled look, a metallic, it almost glows sometimes. It's such a cool technique and design that I did not create. I'm just putting that out there. I didn't come up with this. I'm just making a video of it. I've probably done a few more designs than most with this, because I've been playing with it for a while now. But this little one here, the color I just barely kind of touched in there, that's the larger micron size, the Miranda Star. And it's like I said, it's almost like a glitter, and it reflects many different colors. But I covered that one. You didn't get to see it because the camera ran out of juice there. So we lost a little bit of it. All I did after I just kind of lightly dusted a little of that Miranda Star in there, then I came back with King Tut from Mad Micas and covered the whole thing. And that's all I did with that one. I don't know. I can't recall how well the camera picks it up. But it's gorgeous. It'd be beautiful with just King Tut, because I've used that in a few different soaps using this technique, and it's gorgeous. It glows gold. It is so beautiful. But I wanted to add a little bit of an extra reflective property to it, so I did, and I don't know if the camera catches it. I can't remember. So here, while I'm melting that soap you saw me put up, because this is for part 2, and this is the part that makes the magic happen with these. I'm dusting them out. You see, I'm taking a bigger brush, and I was just dusting around the edges and around every little part, every nook and cranny. You want to make sure it goes around the edge of every little dot you create, and every little cranny in the ones with the saran wrap. If you have a particular crevice that went really deep with the mica, try to find it and kind of shove that mica down in there. It's going to improve the overall look of the soap. So this is the important part. This needs to be a dark color. Had to show you my mess of my activated charcoal dispersed in glycerin, and that's the way I disperse it. It's easier for me. It does disperse just as easily in alcohol, but I like to store it and have it ready. You will get a darker result if you're using the alcohol. You use up less of the whole thing. It is nice. I just like to have it handy. This part is also important. Not only am I pouring black, oh boy, I was risky there. I sprayed near those other trees. You got to be careful with that. You don't spray before you pour. You pour it hot. I pour it about 130. And you pour it over a ladle or See how I'm covering those? You don't want even the overspray of the alcohol to get on there. It will totally ruin your look. And you'll end up with black showing through. The object of this black is not to be seen, but to help the colors reflect outward, and they will. And you can use any interference type micas or anything that's a mica shifting mica. It will really show those off beautifully. But really, any good mica, it will show off. And as you see there, it was 131, and I'm getting ready to pour. Don't go high enough to where it's just going to melt everything it touches, but the heat is helping it to adhere because you cannot spritz it with alcohol. So that's why you go a little bit hotter. And the reason you, with the ladle, or whatever you want to call it, spatula, that's the word, ladle. I don't know what I'm talking about. The spatula helps it to not hit all in the same spot. Because if it does that, you're going to end up with a little hole where the black shows through. Not really a hole, but a spot. But it makes it look like a hole. Now I can spray them freely because all of them are covered in soap. Please ignore the ones on the right. Those are for another video coming out soon. So here's the reveal. I love this technique. It looks cool every single time. Even the ones that every once in a while you get a little bubble or something, they still look so cool. I don't know if you can see it, but to me those are glowing. The colors pop. See, I think the camera shows a little bit of that reflective mica that was in with the gold. I think it shows up pretty well. This one, I don't think the cameras do it justice. This is the duochrome called Red Oak. I come back later and show you the result of another duochrome mica I did, but I didn't end up putting the whole making of in this video, but I put a clip of it at the end of the result of it because it was so stunning I couldn't avoid putting it in here. I just really loved it. And I took pictures from my website with all of them, so I thought you'd want to at least see a little bit of it included. These came out way nicer than I thought. And I know the technique and I know what it looks like. And I know I was kind of iffy with that one. But yeah, I don't know. My first reaction was kind of weird. I was looking for flaws, basically. And I really, once you get them spritzed with a little alcohol and see them in the light, I'm thrilled with them. I don't know. Maybe I was having a day. They're just stunning. The light does pick it up pretty well. They're just stunning in person. It's an easy technique. All you have to do is follow the little rules about using black or really, really dark, opaque black. Get it as opaque as you can. Dark blue, dark purple, dark green. Probably any of those would work, but I would incorporate black with it. I would keep it like a really, really dark shade of something else if you wanted to do it. I did with a couple of these. And I think the clip I show you next from the other using the other duochrome, I think I actually did use a really dark green, black combined with a really dark green. Look at that. I was I was disappointed with that in the beginning because I kind of expected more of the 3 olive martini to shine through, but it really, the reflective part of that really picks up more of gold than anything. And then also I had a couple black spots show through on that one. That was because of how deep I ended up getting the saran wrap. I went too deep with it. I just kept pulling it in, and when I was removing it I realized I had put way too much in, and you can't really see it that well when you're trying to do it for a video. It was the one furthest away from me and I couldn't see down in the cavity very well, kind of flying blind. But I think with the gold and the silvery look that the black actually makes it look cool. So this one was my favorite until I did the ones I'm about to show you. That one was my absolute favorite. I love it. It glows. It looks like a jewel. I don't know. It's so stunning. It's a look. To me, I don't know if it's the shape and the mold and what's going on with it, but it's even more impressive to me than the square bars I did or rectangle bars I did, which I also am in love with. So even up high when it's not when the camera's not focused in, the ones in the background still kind of glow. You can see that. Yeah, I see. You can see a little pastel rainbow in that gold raindrop tree, a little bit when the camera picks it up, and that's what you see in person. Wow. Yeah, I was so thrilled with these. These make the best gifts, I think, and they're not that hard to make. Use the clearest soap. That's super important. Use the saran wrap halfway filled up. Please let it set up all the way. I don't know if I was clear on that. You have to let it finish setting up, and it will take longer because it's covered. So it will take you longer. Here is the sneak peek from the other video that shows that other duochrome color. Actually, two other duochrome colors. This one is called Sugar Maple. It's one of the ones I found at TKB Trading. It's like bronze with a little bit of magenta, a little bit of red. It's just so gorgeous. And then here is this is the red oak. And I don't know how well it shows it. It's mostly shows the green and the red, but a little bits of gold show up in that one every once in a while as well. Do I pull up the two of them together? I don't know if I do, but they're just stunning. And that's the nice thing about the duochrome is you don't have to create or use 4 different micas to get such a dimensional, multicolored look. Whereas the others I did use you saw, I used a large variety of colors. But they're still gorgeous. I think if I did one color, they'd still be beautiful. It's a neat technique. And there they are all together. I will be filming another video soon with some additional Christmas gift ideas. And I'm hoping that you get a chance to try these. If you do, please let me know in the comments. Oh, gosh. Yeah, they're very slippery, Terry, when you spritz them with alcohol. And I do that for several reasons. But the reason I do it while I'm filming is so you can see what they look like in use. If you were to open a fresh one and use that in water, that's what they look like. That's what I like for people to see. Here's my last pictures. That means we're at the end. So if you're here this long, thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this or got anything from it, please give the video a like. There's a little bit of glycerin dew on that. I'm in Florida where it's very humid, so you get to see close-ups of glycerin dew. It was heating. I don't know. It was very humid the day we took those pics. Thanks for stopping by. If you liked it or learned something I already said, please give the video a like, but also subscribe if you haven't. If you want to learn more techniques like this or more complicated techniques, and some even more simple, I do a large variety of different types of tutorials for soap. Melt and pour soap only. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye. Hey everyone, I'm going to be making some ribbon candy soaps today, and I hope you'll join me. This is a fun project and one that I am doing for stocking stuffers for my family. I'm going to be showing most of the colors, etc. up there. If you don't catch them and can't pause it to see what I'm using, I will have links in my description box. This is just kind of for fun, playing around, experimenting. I've never done this style soap, and I wanted to do it today. It reminded me, it's kind of using my chiffon rainbow or chiffon bonfire technique that I make, the little thin sheets of soap. And I thought, I wonder if I could make those look like ribbons. And so, as you'll see in a minute, the main difference between the sheets I make, the soap sheets I make for my chiffon soaps and these is it's a little more controlled as far as the shape goes. With the others, it doesn't matter so much. I'm going for an organic look, not a specific strict shape. But these, and it's really not even strict on here. I'm kind of estimating everything, but I do want it to look, as you'll see when I'm shaping this, I do want it to look like a rectangle. And but I'm not measuring specifically. I'm not pulling out a ruler and a T-square and all the good stuff. You're welcome to do that if you want super precision. I am just using my mold. You'll see in a minute as a guide, kind of for where, how wide is it? Remember to use that bottom of the mold, not the top. I can't really show you how I'm doing that because you can't see underneath the mold. While you're kind of watching me create a rectangle, and as you see, I'm just eyeballing it because it doesn't need to necessarily be perfect. I want to point out that you'll see some sparkle in this, in these little sheets I made. And while I did list the colors in text, in the text boxes, wow. I wasn't necessarily including the glitter. It's not really glitter. It's a biodegradable type of glitter, and sparkling mica it's sometimes called. There's a name for it, and again, I forgot to look it up and put it on the screen, but I can give you names of different companies that make them. All the mica companies that I know of have some form of these. They're a synthetic mica, but it's the same molecules creating it. It's just created in a lab rather than having children hunt for it and dig it up. This one right here, Sunshine Sparkle. Oh gosh, is it Sunshine Sparkle or Sparkle Sunshine? I'm not sure, but it's from Mad Micas, and I will leave a link. I am an affiliate, so if you purchase any of these micas or anything through any of my affiliate links that I put in there for Mad Mica specific micas, I will receive a small percentage of a kickback without it costing you anything additional. But that being said, that Sparkle Sunshine, that is one of the types of micas I'm talking about. It looks like glitter. It's really not. It's a synthetic biodegradable mica. But the reason I was even bringing that up is because I added some to the micas that didn't have that kind of sparkle. Because I want the ribbons, you're gonna see very little of the ribbon. We're basically going to be looking at the thickness of the ribbon when you cut it in the soap, because I'm going for a ribbon candy design. So you're wanting a wavy pattern, as you saw me kind of fold up that red one first. And I wanted to show the beauty of the micas, and it's kind of hard to see the pretty metallic, pearly, sparkly looks they have in that small of an amount. So I wanted to add a little fun, a little flair. You'll notice, if you know me, you'll notice I'm going to add sparkle where I can. So I added in, not to this one, I didn't add anything to this one. It's just Sparkle Sunshine. But in the True Red and in the other colors I've used that are not, that don't inherently have this glitter in it, or synthetic mica in it, I added a synthetic mica like Sparkle Plenty from Mad Micas. Snowflake Sparkle, I think, is Nurture Soap's version. I'm not even sure. There's so many different types. Diamond Sparkle. There's a bunch of different types of these. Like I said, I believe all of the companies that I've purchased from, the professional soaping companies, at least the larger ones, and like I said, any I've purchased from, all have some of these types of micas, synthetic micas. They are so much fun, and they add a different dimension and depth to already beautiful color micas that usually, unless you buy a matte, they're going to be a little bit shiny or pearly or sparkly in some way. And this boosts that look a lot. As you can kind of see here as I'm flattening this out, creating the soap sheets, you can really, the sparkle shows up pretty well in that way, which, I mean, there's a lot of other applications that can have. You might think of lots of other ways you can use these where they will show up a little bit better. That sparkle will really show. Like in a chiffon soap, like in my chiffon rainbow or my silk rainbow. So back to real quick there, when I first started making the little sheets here for this one, I didn't really go into detail about what I'm doing with the sheets of soap once I've cut the rectangle. First of all, I am guesstimating that rectangle to be double the length of my mold. My mold, the one I used for this, it's almost a 4-inch cube. Like, it's more than 3.5, but it's not quite 4 either. So I'm kind of just guesstimating that I want it to be at least at least double that width or length or whatever you want to call it, because it's about, close to the same every direction. It should be, as it's a cube, but it's not exact. I don't know if you remember in elementary school or middle school or any kind of an art class where you were just having fun and folding paper, but it's a fan fold. The main difference being, or an accordion pleat, that type of thing, the main difference is you're not pressing together. You're not creating sharp edges. You want them to stay round. So that is, that's basically the way you're folding it back and forth. You're just trying to keep the size even. That's how you know when to turn the next one. You want it to stay about the curls, the little waves, to stay about the same height and the same dimensions, so that it kind of lines up. Guess what? If they're not, I don't really think it's going to matter. Like I said, nothing here was done precisely. I was just measuring against what I was doing and eyeballing at that. So I really don't think if your accordion fold has one of the little waves that sticks up more than the others, I really don't think you're going to notice that much. And I don't think it's going to matter even if you do notice it, because it's still going to be a really cool looking soap. Me and my forgiving designs, that's what I really like to do. Yes, I do some precision designs, but I really prefer to do something that gives me the wiggle room to not be perfect. I am a perfectionist, which is, I guess, why I choose designs like this, because it doesn't have to be perfect. And so that makes me feel less pressure to be perfect. I just want it to look cool or look nice, I do want it to look like ribbon candy. So if it went totally off the charts, I would have been upset. I wasn't upset with these at all, though. They're not perfect. They don't come out looking like perfect ribbon candy bought from a store. But they do look cool, and I believe they give the image very well. This one, there's a fun little bit here I will show you. It's a chance to show you some troubleshooting. It didn't spread. I had a fan on that was trying to kind of cool things faster right there. Did you see me rip it at the bottom? So I went from the other end. And now I'm going to show you my quick repair for this. It's very easy to repair. Now, you still have to be careful with it or you'll rip it again. But if you just put a little bit of hot soap right there, you can seal that seam, and certainly long enough to get it folded and into the soap if you're not. And I honestly, when I was doing the accordion pleat or the fan fold, whatever you want to call it, I wasn't really paying attention to where that repair was. So it wasn't like I was being super careful. I was like, well, if it repairs it, it does, and makes it look nice. If it rips, it's okay too. Because one of the other pieces did rip when I put it in. You'll see on the cut of it. It's not necessarily that it ripped. I believe it just overheated a little bit. My first bit that I poured of my base of this soap, which we'll talk about in a second, I had it a little too hot, and I got a little impatient. Instead of waiting longer for it to cool off, I wanted to get started. I also didn't want it to be too cool as I put in the embeds, because I was really hoping to avoid catching air bubbles. And I was pretty successful at that. I think there's a little bit of a trick to it that I'll talk about when we get there. Both the crazy eyes and back a few at the Snake Island, both of those I had, because I pre-mixed them with the alcohol in these. And I used probably less than half a teaspoon of everything combined, meaning that glittery mica plus the regular color, about half a teaspoon of each, I believe. I mean, not of each, all together. I added a touch of maniacal pea from Mad Micas. There's a touch of that green in both of the other greens I used. It was such a small amount. I didn't think it was worth trying to cram it into the text and list it. It didn't change them that much. I was just going for a tiny bit of a brightening effect, which I think worked really nicely with the crazy eyes. I don't think I added enough to make a difference to the snake eyes. It almost, in some of the pictures and in some of the footage, I mean, you can see it's green when it's laid out here for sure, the darker one, the Snake Island. But in the soap itself, it almost looks black. It's a little darker than I wanted. But in person, it's like a really dark green, an extreme dark green. You can see that in person a little easier. But in the photos, which really don't matter, I didn't do a great job on the photos this time. I'm not putting them on my website. Like I said, these are from my family. They were already begging for them when they smelled the fragrance oil before they even saw the end results. And then they really loved the end results. So I will be assisting Santa in filling the stockings this year. And they will likely find something like this or exactly this in their stockings. And most of them won't be watching these anyway, so I'm not so worried. And Mr. Soap and such already knows he's getting one, so because he asked for one because he really wanted it. The smell is so good. Don't eat the soap. That's a very big recommendation. They do smell like you want to eat them. That Buttermint Candies fragrance is delicious smelling. But it is still soap. So I'm just kind of playing. You can see these are very pliable. I did not. Sometimes if I'm wanting something to be pliable in a soap, I occasionally will add additional, just a tiny bit of glycerin. I did not do that with these. And boy, they still stayed pliable. That part of that, I think, is that they're just so thin. So here we go with, this is how you make additional ribbons, like striped ribbons. This is how I make them anyway. There's probably other ways to do it. I'm hoping you kind of saw me. I didn't highlight it necessarily, but I poured a little bit into the rectangle there in the rectangle mold each time I prepared a color for creating the soap sheets. And the reason I poured it in the rectangle first is because that, if you're layering, my recommendation to you is pouring it hot. There are many other tips and tricks. You can scrape them. And I didn't really want the look of the scraped. Sometimes you can see it in larger soaps and larger designs and stuff. It's harder to see that if you score it a little bit, and you can score it just a very little bit to where it doesn't show. But I spritzed it with alcohol before, which also is a type of scoring it because it does create a slightly uneven surface in there. And it helps them to adhere together. But pouring it hot does too. You don't want to pour it so hot that it's going to melt the layer underneath. You see, I think 2 of these came apart. But considering the amount that I'm twisting them to get the design I wanted, I'm actually surprised that only 2 of them came apart. So, and I think toward the end, one of them was a little cooler, and I was telling myself, well, that's going to come apart. And it sure did. So now we're moving to the base soap of the main soap of this design. I did create all the ribbons I was going to use for this. Those were fun. Those are really fun, by the way, and you can use them in many other things. I should have added a picture in at the end of another soap I made with a rainbow ribbon, but I forgot to do that. So someday maybe I'll recreate that soap. It was really pretty. It's in some of the soap groups if any of you feel like really digging for it. It was a long time ago. Um, but this is the Crafter's Choice detergent free. I think this one was the detergent free coconut milk base, soap base, and it's one I hadn't tried and wanted to try. So this was one I wanted to be a really white soap too. And I have a lot of other white soap bases from Crafter's Choice, not affiliated with them. I just love their product. Their soap bases particularly. I buy other things there, but mainly for the soap bases. And then you get free shipping if you get over 25, free shipping. There is a handling fee, but that definitely encourages you to get some of their other products too if you're already purchasing soap base from them. At least it does for me, and they're quality products. They really are. Anyway, I have and love their Moroccan argan oil soap, their baby bee buttermilk. Oh, they have some really, really beautiful bases, both detergent free and premium, that are really, really nice. But some of the whiter types of bases, like the argan oil, is the one I was specifically thinking of, but the buttermilk as well. And I think the 3 butter does it a little bit. They're a little bit ivory. They're not pure white. The goat's milk has a really nice white look. And you can always add a little bit more TD, titanium dioxide. It will brighten it up. But I didn't want to deal with that, and I had this just a little sample tub, a 2-pound sample of the coconut milk sitting around waiting to test it because I hadn't tried it. And I thought, I want a really nice bright white for this. And I did. Notice that I am putting one side down and then the other. That is how I'm avoiding catching bubbles underneath. I'm watching carefully as I press it down in that the air all escapes the other side. So because they're super thin, words, and a little see-through, you can kind of see where the air is coming out. Yes, I'm making a mess. That is kind of who I am. I'm always art over mess, art over neatness, I'm going to say, because the mess doesn't matter as much to me if it's, going to create a beautiful end product or something that I want to use or sell or what have you. But like I said, this one's not being sold. It's family only. And I had to add a little bit of glitz to the top because that is who I am. These are the biodegradable stars. I forget the name of them, but you might be able to see it on the screen. The screen I'm watching while I do the voiceover is a little smaller, so I can't quite read what the package says there. But I'll leave a link, of course. I know they have a very specific name for their little stars. It's really cute. And then I wanted to add a tiny bit more glitter, so I added some more of the here comes the fun part. I added some into the Mystic biodegradable glitter. So this is a fun part. Here we go. Ever rip a mold in the middle of making a soap video? Well, this is my first time ever ripping a mold at all. I have to say, I'm not that surprised. I kind of mistreat this mold quite a bit because I almost have to unroll it to get it out easily. But it's one of the first molds I ever bought. 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not even sure. But I've had it for a very long time. It was very cheap. And it's gotten a lot of use. So and when I looked at the other corners, they were starting to give out too. So it was just time. I've never, like I said, never had a mold rip on me or damage in some way like that I couldn't use it. But there's a first time for everything. I do plan on getting a different mold to replace it because I want one that actually is a 4-inch square. And I want one of the more, there are some that are that I've seen, similar to the style that Brambleberry makes, there. I might even get one there. I'm not sure, but they're a little sturdier. This one bows out on the edges and on the sides, and you'll see that when the soaps are cut. They're really bowed, and sometimes I fix that, and sometimes I don't. And because these are going to my family, I promise you they do not care. They're just gonna, use the soap and try not to eat it. But yeah, so I won't be making any more sample soaps or get to experiment in my little square until I replace that, and I will have to do that pretty soon. But I think these came out really cool. I had a lot of fun making them, and I show them off a little bit here to you. I'm gonna I do have a few Lightbox pictures, not a ton, but I show you some of the other things here I did with the leftover ribbons, because there's so many different things you can do with this type of soap embeds. As you've seen, you've seen a variety of things I've done with the soap sheets, the chiffon design, and this is yet another take on that. But also the little striped ribbons right there. That I had a lot of fun with those, and because I had a few left over, I had to not try it, but play with it a little bit, because, and you see, it's far from perfect. There's the broken little red piece because I put it in too hot. It's not, didn't even hold its perfect little accordion pleat or ribbon candy rolls or waves or whatever you want to call it. It's not perfect, but it definitely gives the impression of ribbon candy, which is all that matters. It gives the idea, and the colors give the impression of Christmas and the holidays, and the buttermint candy smell definitely gives the impression, when you smell and look at it at the same time, it definitely looks like a Christmas treat for sure. And I know real ribbon candy is not a minty scent in general. They're kind of a plain fruity, plain sweet scent, not scent, flavor. I would probably liked it a lot better had it been this like buttermint kind of flavor, because yummy. But anyway, I thought they came out really cute. I'm trying in these ending close-ups here just to show you a variety of looks at once. Sometimes when you see that, it's so that I can get a I can grab a still picture from these, and I wanted to make sure to show the top, because I think that's part of the coolest part of it. It is, I'm using two completely different techniques here to show different designs you can make with a ribbony kind of look. So I was real happy with how those came out. I wished I had kept them a little more curled before I threw them on top, but I still think they came out cute. So so here's what else I did. Here's what I did with the leftovers. I had to play because they were there and they were leftover, so I wanted to use them. I love the way this Christmas tree came out, and I believe this is the one that Mr. Soaps and Such wanted, because he was thrilled with that one. He thought it looked so cool, and I can't disagree with him on that. I love when you can see neat design embeds like that, and still it's clear and you can see through the whole thing, and part of why I love Melt and Pour. And then this one with the little garland on it. That was done using the ones that broke apart. Now, I didn't use the green ones yet, and I still have a little piece of that, but I thought I put them to good use. It does look like a little garland on there, and there's a couple of little glitter stars on the top too, and a little extra glitter in the base, in the clear base itself, because I can't. And I kept these the same fragrance because I had it out and was using it. And like I said, these aren't something I was putting up on my website, just something I was playing with. So I did this for gifts for family and friends. I did this for ideas for you, for stocking stuffers, or for future ideas, different ways to use the chiffon technique. I'm hoping that something in here has inspired you. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you have not already done so. It really helps the channel grow quite a bit. I will be showing you a few pics in a second. They didn't come out that great because the clear ones especially got some glycerin dew on them, and that's just the way it is in Florida. It will come off, but I didn't notice it before the pictures were taken, so sorry about that. You can see in the close-ups, you'll notice that I do go in really close. You see the glitter there. Isn't that cool? I think that looks really neat when it shows up. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your time with me and allowing me to share some designs with you, and hopefully some new techniques that you may not have seen before, or new ways to use older techniques that you might have seen before. I'm hoping you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Bye. Hey, everyone. We're going to make some Christmas soaps today. I know it doesn't look like it because you see a little ghost up there, but we're jumping into Christmas. I don't think you're going to know what season it is by the time you're done watching my channel, because I'm going to jump around a lot. We will be back to Halloween in a very short time. But as some of you may know, I did some make and takes. I did a make and take, and I have more planned. But at the make and take I did, which is where you come together with a group of people and a leader who supposedly knows what they're doing. That was me. um, and they guide you to do a certain craft and help you, and you take it home. So you make it and you take it, and then you have gifts to give other people, or you can keep it for yourself. So I did one of those with melt and pour soap. It was my first time ever doing that with melt and pour soap. um, it was hard but really, really fun. I talk about it a little more in the video with the little round fall soaps. But the only reason I'm bringing that up now is because I made these couple of little trees here for the make and take. When you do something where you have to promote it, you have to create it ahead of time so that you have at least a picture, or an image or a video or something to share to promote what you're doing. So I had to do a little one here. I wasn't real thrilled with them. I wasn't thrilled with the color that the ghost came out. But it's what I had, and I was in a hurry. I had to get it done, and they're okay. They're all right. They're kind of plain. Um, where they would have been nicer is if I hadn't forgotten to not use goat milk for. I wanted to use goat milk for the ghosties because I wanted some plain white ones, and I thought that'd be kind of cool. And I like the goat's milk soap, so I thought, well, there's a good opportunity to use it because they're white. And then I kind of forgot that I was using that, and I poured it into the container that already had the mica dispersed, etc., because it was going to be a nice combo of Crazy Eyes green and lush green. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the other green was. Either way, I was mixing some greens together, and it was really pretty until I poured the goat milk soap in. If you don't already know, any kind of white soap is going to make your colors pastel. And so this just wasn't my favorite. Anyway, so there's the one with the Sparkle Me Aqua that I sprinkled on top. And I feel like that color, that glitter-ish, it's not really glitter mica, is so beautiful. It doesn't show itself off well in these soaps. And then that one's got the Sparkle Sunshine instead, because I wanted them to each be a little different. I hope you can tell the difference in the glitter there. You'll see more of both of those glitters as I get to the soaps I made after my make and take, when I had a bunch of leftovers. Not only did I have leftovers of shredded soaps, because I made a lot. I wanted everybody to have enough to do what they wanted to do, and I just made those by making solid rectangles using clear melt and pour soap, not the white, not the goat's milk. Um, clear, premium crystal clear, but really any clear or translucent soap will do for something like this. You just want to see the color nice and vivid like this. And I just did little rectangle bars, the typical pink rectangle mold that's real popular from Amazon. If you don't know what that mold looks like, I will try to remember to link it along with the tree mold in the description box. That probably won't be until Wednesday. So those of you who are early birds, you probably won't see the links in there because this is running really late. But um, the those molds are really good for just making little somethings, little bars of soap that you maybe want to shred up. Could you do this with recycled soap, or you not necessarily recycled, but recycle your soaps? Like if you had a soap you didn't like the way it came out, but it was green, could you turn it into a tree? Of course you could. Um, yeah, it's a great way to use up scraps, or, you know, misfires, or, something you're just not real thrilled with, or you're tired of looking at, and it's been sitting on the shelf for too long. Shred it up, turn it into a soap. You will notice that you don't just have to use green soaps, because I did a huge variety of colors. Don't be afraid to play with color. Take a look. If you want some inspiration, look at, or look up on YouTube. Do a search on YouTube for Christmas decor trends. There's several videos I saw. They were kind of leaning toward people who are in the retail industry on, what they found at the retail shops and shows this year for things to buy that people sell in their stores. And they look for trends, and they, buy accordingly. And so one of the trends again this year is unique colors for Christmas, not necessarily the traditional, but there is a return to the traditional as well. So those are always going to be um, a standard because they are traditional. And but you will find a lot of people decorating their trees and or houses and or whatever, um, with pinks and with mint green and blues and all kinds of colors. Anyway, check that out if you want some inspiration, because it did inspire me a lot with what colors I chose, for this make and take project that I did. Not only am I trying to use up the rest of these shreds, because I did scent these. The reason I scented them is because they make up a very large part of the soap. If it was just a little bit, they're at least a third. They're at least a third of the soap, maybe not more. Um, about a third, because I pour a half. Well, you'll see in a minute. I'll tell you a little bit more when I start pouring these. But trust me when I say, that I didn't. Well, at least I didn't want it unscented. So you could, if you wanted to, not scent the bars, or not, use up a fragrance. Doesn't have to be Christmas. It just has to go with Christmas or something Christmassy. And vanilla can be Christmassy. Peppermint. There's all kinds of directions you can go. Spicy, like a chai spice, or like a pumpkin spice, that can still linger at Christmas. You can get away with it. Spiced cranberry is one of my favorite Christmas scents ever. And I almost went with that with these, but it does go well with the scent I used, which was the applewood fir needle. If you didn't catch that earlier on, it's in all the shreds except for the white ones. That's not scented because I just directly shredded some squares of it. So no color, no scent on that, on the white ones. Um, but the color combinations were really, and I won't say endless because that's not true. I only had about, what did I have, like six or seven colors. I think I just did six because I think I just filled up one tray and made bars. It made a lot of shreds because I had a lot of ladies at this make and take making trees, and they didn't all just make one. I let them, if they wanted to do a second one, I let them because they were having so much fun with it. And I did melt extra soap. I want to talk real quick about the soap I melted, and another reason I wanted to do these trees and do them now is I was using my 2 Auto Tools soap melter to have a large amount of soap melted. It it really comes in handy to have a soap melter if you've not used one. If you're doing something like a class or a demonstration or anything where you're going to be making multiple soaps, it's quite handy. I'll tell you again my trick with it for using lower melt and pour soap, which is what I use. The Wholesale Supplies Plus Crafter's Choice soaps are quite low in the melting point of the in the melting point temperature of the soaps. And so you if you just melt it in one that does not have some type of direct control over the temperature, you're going to be sorry. But I have a workaround, and it's quite easy. All you have to remember to do is set a timer. If you um, if you don't know it, most phones have a timer directly on them, or you can download an app, or you can use a kitchen timer, or you can use a watch if you have one. But set a timer. You want to check on it frequently. It's going to melt way faster than you think it's going to melt. It is zip fast. And so it will also overheat fast if you're not careful. But if you turn it off when it's about halfway melted and just close the lid back up, it's very nice lid, by the way. It closes very tightly, and you will not burn yourself touching the lid. The only thing you can burn yourself on the outside of the melter is the spout. So I while this video is not sponsored by them, I am an affiliate, and I didn't put my affiliate link in the little, my area where I tell you what I'm affiliated with, but it is in my description, in the description box, both my link to Auto Tools and me telling you that I would earn a commission if you purchase from me for that. So, but I really enjoy using it, and so that's why I just wanted to mention it here because I don't talk about it frequently. I don't typically make that many soaps at once, and when I do, um, I just wanted to share it with you because it made the experience of teaching a lot of people and having several buckets of different fragrances kind of going around the room being um, passed around from here to there, and I did. A couple of times we had to reheat. That's kind of typical when especially if you're a lot of different people doing a lot of different soaps. Um, but I would have been I wouldn't have been able to do the class, honestly, without the melter. I thought about it and thought about it. I was just going to use the microwave at first, and I thought that was just nope. So I used the melter and was quite helpful. And so because they were having so much fun and I melted extra soap for the whole group, I wanted to make sure everybody got what they wanted, got what they uh, wanted out of the class, and so I did a little extra, and they ended up using some of the extra, but I just had melted it all. So there was extra in my melter, and you don't want to just leave that in there. So I did leave it in there overnight, truth be told, but it didn't seem to hurt anything. So I came out the next day and out to the workshop with my melter and reheated it so I could use it because I didn't want to just heat it up. It would have been smart had I poured it out into a bucket. Just let it go through the spout and pour it out into something else. Um, before I stopped the class, but I gotta tell you, yeah, I was exhausted. Um, if you ever lead a class like that, 1, 2 maybe, styles of soap that, draw yourself a limit. You don't wanna go past that, trust me. Um but this is a great project for something like that. This would also be a great project for, with supervision, of course, like with Girl Scouts or maybe the older ones, um, or groups, church groups, or youth groups, or clubs of various kinds, groups of kids, birthday parties, something like that. Um, Gosh, it was fun. And because you make the shreds ahead of time, nobody's going to hurt their fingers. You only give them so many options. You just make the colors you want to make, and that's the option, and you let them. The fun is in mixing the colors. I think that's what they had fun with. And the glitter, putting the glitter on, um, and have them spritz it with alcohol or have you spritz it if they're too young for that. Um, after or before or both they put the sprinkles on, and that way they're not going to be inhaling any of that. That's one thing. That's one tip to note if you're using the lightweight flyaway mica, which is really glittering mica. Not glitter, it's glittering mica. It's lightweight and will go into the air if you're not careful. If I had really young kids, I would definitely be supervising that and sprinkling the glitter on myself and then spritzing and then helping them to stir. But if you do alcohol before and after you put the apply the glitter, it's not going to fly up as they're stirring it. That's my point. Anyway, you see what I'm doing here. I just want to kind of tell you a little bit of some tricks that I told the gals, and these were not kids. There was one young lady who came with her grandmother. She was a teenager, I believe, or a little older, maybe college age. But that was one of the cool things about it is he had a grandparent and a granddaughter having a great night. And then you had sisters, and then you had friends, and it was a really fun community event. Um, but the thing I told them that this is one of the easiest instructions is you pour the mold, you fill the mold halfway, just halfway. Then you grab your handful of the sprinkles that you or not sprinkles of the shreds that you created. Make your own little pile. In hindsight, I would have put those in a bowl, in little bowls, give everybody a bowl to do, but I didn't. So I did have a nice mat out here, like I have, for them to stir their little piles on. And because that's the way I've always done it, that's what I did. But in hindsight, having so many people, they weren't all doing the same soap at the same time. But I would have had bowls. It would have made it a little neater, a little cleaner. Um, but you pour it with halfway with soap, then the liquid soap, obviously, at around 130 is ideal. 135 is, I think, what I did here. You have to be careful that you're not just putting a couple of shreds in after that because they will melt immediately. But if you take little mini handful and shove it in there, of course, you're going to spritz it with alcohol first, which will cool it, and then you put the shreds in and you squirt it again, and you put don't cram them really tight, but definitely fill the mold with them. And you're probably going to fill it higher than where the soap goes. And then you top it with more soap. Spritzing with alcohol before you do. It is going to loosen a tiny bit of the glitter so that it comes out a little in the clear, but it doesn't really mess up the clear. It doesn't make it not clear or, doesn't mess with the clarity. That's the word I was looking for. Does not mess with the clarity of the soap. If you did it before, if you did it like if you sprayed the shreds right before you put them in, you might find that it messes with the clarity a little. But on your second application of the soap, I spritzed it before and it didn't hurt anything. Anyway, that is, and when you go to pour that second layer of the melted soap, like I'm doing right here, if this is caught up to what I'm seeing, um, go in slow while it's hot. It will start to decrease in temperature, obviously, if you're doing multiples. And so your later ones are, you might have to work a little faster with them. You might not have to pour so gingerly at the end if it's not super hot. Always keep your thermometer handy and keep an eye on the temperature so you know. And if you have to reheat it, remember once soap is melted, don't put it in for 30-second increments anymore. You start with much less because it takes a lot less heat to get it back up to a usable temperature, even if it's completely solidified. So go in less, go in with very little. And also keeping in mind that the lower the amount of soap in the bucket as you're using it, the less amount of heat is going to take to set up. So I would not do 30-second increments on my reheat unless you're starting to add more soap to it, like you've got more cubes that you've added in because you need a lot more. Anyway, that's my trick. I love those little, and it's really not a trick, it's just my technique I do for these soaps. I love those little plastic stir sticks because they just last forever. I know some of you might not like that, but I also am not using up a bunch of trees to use wooden ones that are one use and throw them away. These are very sturdy, and I definitely will use them over and over and over and over as long as I am making soap. And when I'm done making soap, hopefully I can pass them along to someone else who will make something. I don't ever see myself as being done making soap, but I'm not eternal at this point in my life. So, um, the sticks come in quite handy anyway. You can stir soap with them. They're not quite tall enough. I prefer normally, unless I just have a small amount, I prefer the silicone spatulas, which I think I actually have in that little bucket. I can't tell anymore if that's one of the sticks or one of the spatulas, because there's a size that's very similar, size and shape that's very similar in a spatula to those. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So I'm sorry I'm rambling so much. I'm just trying to hurry and get this out because my lovely members who've been quite patient have been waiting patiently for their early access soap video. And keep in mind, if you decide to become a member, you will also get early access to my soap videos. It's usually about 24 hours early access. It is definitely the night before the video goes public. And they're no different videos than what you are seeing, but they just get to see them earlier, which can be really fun for some people. So, as you notice, real quick here at the end, those last two colors I had, or two piles I had, and stirred them together. Don't be afraid to test things. Don't be afraid to try mixing a variety of colors. It is always helpful to get your colors out and look at them. Like look at your micas. Put them, if you have jars, put them out where you can see each color and see how they look together. And maybe think about switching out if you don't like the way a pink looks. Maybe you need a different pink. There's tons of different shades. There's tons of different, um, oh, not just shades. What's the, oh, good grief, Terry. There's a lot of different nuance to colors. So if you find that some are too warm and they don't go with the other ones, don't be afraid to switch it out until you like it before, you create your color palette in soap. So what you see me doing here real quick, and they set up fairly fast, although you will notice in here, you will probably catch me on a couple of them, they weren't set up. And so I had to go back and stop and wait. But for now, I'm just trimming them. And you see, I checked that one. It was not ready. So I just waited a little longer. I think I finished trimming a little bit. Why am I trimming? Because I wasn't too messy with these, but you do get some on the outsides, and it is like along the edges of the trees on the mold on the outside. It is so much easier to take it off before you remove them from the mold, in my opinion. It can be easy to remove if it's just a real thin layer. You can just kind of pull it off and be fine with that. But I also like to trim the backs of these because sometimes you have little bit of a shred that sticks up. And it's not that it looks bad, it actually looks kind of cool sometimes, but it makes it much more difficult to wrap, at least for me. You want your tape to lie flat on the surface if it's going to really do its duty. And these are kind of tricky to wrap in general, so I don't like it to make it harder on myself. Maybe I will do a video down the road on how I wrap these because I've done them for years, and I think I have found a way I know I've found a way that works best for me to wrap them. So maybe I can help you out, giving you an idea of how I work around some odd shapes like this. So I will keep that in mind. And if I have a chance to throw down an extra video or maybe tag it on the tail end of another one, I will do that. And then I will obviously let you know, and you can watch me wrap soaps, which I hate wrapping soaps. So I'd probably at least just do a few for you. You don't want to hear the cursing that comes out when I'm wrapping soaps. Um, just kidding, sorta. So trimming the backs. Now you can see the other reason I brought this up is because you can hopefully see in the very bottom right corner where I'm kind of cleaning my knife off and just putting the little pieces that are just barely crumbs, kinda, of soap and little shavings of the clear with a little bit of color in it because maybe a shred was sticking up. You can see that over there. You'll see it more in a moment because after I try to trim these and end up not trimming them because they're still wet, still not set up. There, I tore through the skin on the top. Wasn't that fun? I just didn't wait long enough, you know? Patience is a virtue. Um, but uh, I'm not going to show you, but I am going to tease them a little bit. Wait until you see what I do with those little tiny scraps. Oh my gosh, did they come out cute? I don't I mean, look how pretty that is. To me, that's pretty. That looks like candy. It just looks like, I don't know, looks like crushed candy. Um, so cool. So I was really thrilled with those. And my first thought was to put them in a Christmas tree. We've got the Christmas tree mold right there. We know it looks cool with little shreds of things. But I changed my mind on that. I had a better idea, which you will get a little bit of a teaser here. As I'm pulling these out underneath, you'll be able to see what they are, but not really, because you can't guess how pretty they are when I take them out of the mold. There's just I was flabbergasted. But these are gorgeous. So right now, focus your attention on the trees because I think they came out just stunning. Um, they're hard to capture. Some of the colors are harder to capture. It's my lighting. I also did not take the time to clear everything out of the way underneath the camera, and I should have because it's much easier to see without a bunch of other trees blurry in the background, and without color. But the extra colors kind of draw your eye in, and it's hard to focus on what you're looking at. These little Caribbean looking trees, Caribbean kind of colors, at least to me, look a lot better to me in person. I don't know, they kind of got dulled a little bit, and you don't quite see the color on the camera, especially the golden Buddha color. It's kind of a golden yellow, and and the green. It just kind of dulled them down. They really stand out more in person. These are pretty much my favorites right here. I think I don't know the first set I really loved too, the multicolor, but I love if you can take a peek here. Look at the Sparkle Me Blue. Is that right? No, Sparkle Me Aqua. So pretty in those. Now this one's the Sparkle Plenty, which is obviously also gorgeous in a soap, but I wanted these to look kind of snowy, so that's why I went that direction. The Sparkle Me Aqua, though, just kind of glows. I'll bring them up in a minute. You'll see them; they'll come back up for the kind of end pictures for for all of them. You'll get to see just in pairs, a few side by side, and they won't be so it's not sped up like this is, so you'll get a better chance to look at them. They're held a little more still, which actually that's just because they're sped up. They look like they're moving fast and jerking around, and they're really not. It's just that's what happens when you speed things up. Those last two, I guess, still weren't ready. They're so pretty. Oh, so what I did to stall for time on those is I came back to the initial green ones. I just wanted you to see them next to some multicolor because while I think they're okay, I think they would have been so much prettier with maybe a little white or a little gold or I don't know, maybe another color, maybe another pastel. If we did some other shades of green within pastels that want a little bit more bluish, I think they would have looked nicer. Real quick, focus your eyes down on that glitter mess and see what I'm about to do. I'm going to unblur the back so you can see. That is the scrap from inside my bucket or my pitcher that I pulled out. I usually do pull those out and use them, but just so you see, I spritzed the glitter with a little alcohol and it picks it right up, and now I have a scrap to use with glitter all over it. You'd be surprised what kind of beautiful looking gemstones that will make. Someday I'll actually show you. But here we go with the kind of This is kind of like my up close and personals. I did take a quick couple of pictures at the end, which you will see it will transition from you watching me take a couple of pictures into the last pictures, and that will kind of finish us out. But I really hope that some of you who've had some experience will consider doing some make and takes, or if you have a craft project to do with kids or adults, as long as the kids are really well supervised, this is a really good project, particularly for older kids. I can't tell you how much fun the group of ladies had doing these. It was so much fun. So give it a try. It's not, even if you don't have a melter, you could use a double boiler or you could use a microwave. Just remember to put saran wrap over the top of your pitchers while if you're not using one, and make separate buckets for your separate fragrances, and it'll work. I promise you. So here I just laid these out. I wanted to get a cute picture for use in social media and such. And I don't know why I ended up leaving it at the end. I guess because I was switching to show you the pictures I took. I didn't get a bunch that turned out well, but there's a few. So thanks for hanging in with me. Make some Christmas trees. Make them early because it's going to be here before you know it. Thanks so much. Bye. Hey everyone. Let's make Christmas presents out of Christmas presents. We're going to make some present shaped, gift shaped soaps. Hopefully you're reading the little note I have up there. I'm only going to talk today. So when you see something being poured, hopefully I will tell you what it is, because I'm not going to write it this week. I'm just crazed. That was Premium Crystal Clear Soap Base by Crafter's Choice. I purchased mine at Wholesale Supplies Plus. They are the manufacturer of that soap base. You can find it other places, but I usually buy it at the manufacturer because it is the cheapest. But it isn't available there right now, so you might be able to search other places for it. Hopefully it will be back in stock soon. I'm popping on there some plastic wrap. Mine is Glad Cling Wrap. That's the actual brand of it. It doesn't really matter. You're just creating wrinkles. That's all you want to do. And now I'm doing, you guys hopefully have seen me do these techniques. If you haven't, I have about 3 videos talking about resin techniques. Resin, not resin soap, because there is no resin. These are just techniques that were developed, or I should say kind of borrowed from the world of resin art, and we have adapted it to soap, melt and pour soap. You can make these designs and it looks like the designs they do in resin. Please remember that I'm editing this, so that soap that you saw me pour and do the wrinkles on, that set up fully for at least an hour before I came back in and pulled that off. I'm assuming you don't want to sit there for an hour while my soap dries. So that is what we're doing. We're putting a mica in. You can do a variety of things here. I do love to use the duochrome micas. If you noticed, that's all I put in that one. One type of mica, because at every angle it's a little different. I have to say, looking at it right now as I'm doing this voiceover, it does not pick up all the colors on the camera. It's a little bit better once I get the top layer on, but it doesn't do it justice. It's gorgeous, and you only need one color. I'm also doing one color here. This is Mad Mica's King Tut Gold, and I am affiliated with them. I'm not affiliated with Wholesale Supplies Plus or TKB Trading, which is where the red oak color, the duochrome, came from. This is my affiliation with Mad Mica's. If you find my affiliate link in the description box, I will get a kickback if you purchase through that link without it costing you any extra. So I am pouring black. Real quick note, the one I'm pouring there, the little blue, that is Blue Moon Mica. and it's slightly tinted pink a little bit because somebody didn't properly clean her brush. So there's probably a bit of flirt mica in with that over the top, but it's mostly Blue Moon. And I was showing you that little line in the middle. I wanted you to see that big spot. What you will see me do later is originally done to cover up that spot, but also a design for making gift soaps. Now, please ignore the trees. They are in my previous video. Here you see a little better the duochrome action. You can see green, reds, and gold depending on the angle you're looking at with that mica. It's fabulous. If you haven't tried a duochrome mica with these techniques, do so if you get the chance. They are more expensive. I just buy this mostly. I buy the sample packs or when they go on sale. What you see coming up here, I'm creating a thin sheet of soap. In hindsight, I would have just done the pink. It's a long story, but basically, I wanted to use gold as well, and it just wasn't the right gold. It's Sparkle Sunshine from Mad Micas, and it's one of my favorite things to use ever because it is it's more like a glitter. Even though it's not truly a glitter, it looks like a glitter in soap. And really imagine on anything you'd use it on or in. It's fabulous and it's gorgeous. But it just wasn't the right shade, and I'm really picky when it comes to colors matching. So it's not that things need to be matchy to me. It just needs to go. And it didn't go quite for me. So I ended up just using the pink in this one, and I only ended up doing one ribbon, and I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. But right now, all you need to know is I am pouring 2 colors at once, and I'm pouring them at a fairly cool temperature. I don't show that on camera, but I'm and that clear soap, by the way, that base is the that's the basic clear, and I think I may have even mixed it with something else, but I think it's the basic clear. As you'll see, it's not quite as clear as the premium crystal clear. And I think I end up pouring about 2 ounces total to cover the bottom of this. I did not weigh it. I was not concerned about being super precise with that because I'm going for a look. So I just needed to cover the bottom of my mold, of my loaf mold there. And I wanted it needs to be thick enough to manipulate it, but thin enough to be flexible so that you can manipulate it. So I'm pouring at a cool temperature so they don't just immediately run together. I kind of was going for the sides being a solid color and the center being a little bit of a swirl, which is what I ended up with, but then I didn't end up using the swirl or the gold. I might down the road use it. I still have them, so actually I did use the gold on something, part of the gold. But you're basically just creating a ribbon. I'm cutting here. I was really doing the cheaters quick way of doing things in this video because I had, as you may see there, I had a lot going on. But the ribbons themselves, if you want to be precise, get out a ruler and use a ruler. That's the proper way to do it. Do as I say, not as I do, because these weren't straight. It didn't really matter much for what I was using it for, but if you want nice straight lines, get out a ruler. It's far better than just using the back side of your mold, or the top side, really, just upside down. Yeah, these strips here, I was planning to turn them all into little ribbons and put ribbons on more of them than I did. I just ended up doing the one. And you'll see, because I wanted to show you a variety of ways you could do that. Because these are, they're not hard. They're just tedious and fussy, kind of, finicky to get the way you want. Especially if you're fussy like me. if you are a kind of a perfectionist, and I'm not always, but with things like this, I want it to look like I want it to look like. So, but it's not hard to make a little ribbon going across. And you see where those seams meet up. I'm just placing it there until I can glue it because I wanted to get all the parts together before I started gluing. When I say glue, I don't mean using glue. I mean using soap. And by that, if you have never used soap to glue something onto one of your soaps, one of the most important things is to make it hot. I kind of am fooling here with this a little bit, and in hindsight, I would have just cut it in half right away and just cinched each end like I end up doing here. So I'm just shaping it into one side of a bow and then the other. You could also just cut plain triangles. But some of the other tips for gluing it on, that the soap needs to be very hot. And not hot enough to burn it, but you want it quite hot. And you also want to scratch, if you can, the underneath surface of where you're going to glue it on very carefully, or the back side, or both, depending on your level of trust with your soap and how much you feel like it will stick. It really seems to, especially on the really slick surface of the original soap, because it's the crystal clear and it came out of a mold. It's very slick. It doesn't have any porousness to it or give to it. When I'm working with the ribbon, I'm manipulating it with my hands and with tools, and so there's little texture in there, and I'm not as worried when I'm gluing on top of the other ribbon. But adhering the ribbon to the soap, which I do in a second, you will see me using that same tool, the stylus tool, which all I'm doing is creating a couple of wrinkles in it. So when you tie a bow where it's cinched together, that's where the wrinkles happen. So I like to do that. You certainly don't have to. Like I said, you could put two triangles together and then put a little circle or a little diamond shape over it, and you can get the look of a ribbon. And I have an even easier way to turn these into presents, Christmas presents, which you will see in the coming photos. I ended up not doing it on film for various reasons, most of which I am insanely busy these last few weeks, next couple weeks. It's just crazy. Not just business, because you know the Black Friday stuff and all the small business sales, etc. But life, just lots going on. So I'm adhering it. I don't let go of it until I know it's fairly solid. I wait a good few seconds. I don't just put it on there and just let go. And this is there you see me scraping with my little tool, just creating a little bit of area. It gives more surface area for that soap to stick to, and it just sticks better than to a slick surface. Just like if you were to sand a surface before you paint it, it is helping that to adhere. So I come back in and trim the bottoms later. I had originally was thinking about bringing it around the back side, which is what I did to the first gift soaps I made like this years ago, when I hadn't done them in years. So this was kind of a recap for me too. I didn't remember exactly what I had done. I was playing around with it as I went because it's been a while. Excuse me. So yeah, you'll see me gluing that on. That right where they meet up in the center, you have to remember, or I guess you don't have to, but it's important to remember that that's probably not going to show. If you choose to cover it enough with a little bow, it's not going to show. If there's going to be an intersection there, whether you like it or not, if you're going to try to create that look. So I just wouldn't worry too much if there's a little gap in it or something, as long as you know you can cover it with your bow. And I would, you can measure that out ahead of time and see how big. Mine was pretty big, I think, for that, but it matched the width of the ribbon, and I think it looked fine. I did not create tails. You could. I think for me, it would have been too busy and too many layers going in and out from there, so I just left it alone. I think it looks really nice without the tails. There's a lot of different things you could do with this idea. You could create a little mini tag if you wanted to. You could, so many little different ways you could go. You could do this on a plain red square. You don't have to do the raindrop technique, resin technique, or the crushed velvet resin technique, you could just pour a plain soap and do red and green and do red and then a green ribbon. Or you could marble a little bit. You could marble 2 colors, or you could layer some colors. You can do whatever you want with this. It's just creating a pretty square, which I did find these are little and I think they're about 2.5 ounces, 2.5 ounce cavities. They're little gray squares with it. Have a nice bevel on them and rounded corners. I love them. Found them on Amazon. I'll try to put the link on there if I can find it in the description box. Pretty sure I can because I've seen these plenty of times on Amazon looking for a variety of molds. Using my little stylus tool because it has a rounded end and is less likely to damage the soap underneath it. I'm using it to clean up. And you can still damage the soap underneath if you're not careful. And you will see I also show you in this a little remedy for that, which I'm just doing right now. And that is a clean, stiff-ish paintbrush. If you have just some little tiny, I won't say nicks because that's really not what I mean. It's not going to take out big scratches, but little teeny tiny flaws in the surface of your soap if you're not happy with it after you've been working with it. It can brush some of that off. It can kind of create like a satiny texture and smooth it out. And then even the satiny texture is going to kind of go away once you spray it with that alcohol. It's going to kind of even it out a little bit more even. So that's just a tip for if you have some, I don't know, little water spots from your mold or areas where you happened to bump something on it or get a little overzealous with your tool. It's just a nice way to clean it up. Here I'm exploring. I'm trying to figure out what I wanted to do, like I said, is the gold and the pink, but I just didn't like the way the golds looked next to one another. And I also didn't like, even though I checked it before, I looked at the color of the present against the glitter, and I thought it might work, but it didn't, so I just didn't do it. Here's the finished guy. I think he's so cute. And then I'm about to show you in some of the pictures. I'm going to show you a little gift set idea because the whole thing here is to give you ideas for your own gifting, for your own projects for fun for Christmas time. These make great little gift sets if you do them in whatever kind of variety of colors you want to do. You could do them all the same. You could do the variety here that I chose was not supposed to be, the colors were not chosen to go together. So I kind of fudged it a little bit to get them to go together, as you'll see when I box it. But I was just kind of playing around with colors and playing around with designs. These 3 that you're going to see in a second that I'm kind of ending this portion of the video with, these are all the duochrome, and I thought they looked really cool together, and I think that would make a wonderful gift set to have different shapes and techniques but the same color. And here we have the same shape but different techniques and different colors. So as you see, just the one soap with the ribbon on top gives the illusion to make the whole thing look like a bunch of packages. So you don't even necessarily need a ribbon on the rest of them if you package them in this way or showcase them in this way. And they're all just pretty soaps that are going to be used anyway. The ribbon's not going to last forever on there. It's made out of soap. But as you see, all you need to do is wrap your soaps in clear wrap or shrink wrap or whatever you do and put ribbon over them, and they're instantly a present. They're instantly a package, a picture of a present or a gift, if you will. And then if you, like I say, you put them together in a little box, and there you go. It's a great little gift set. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. And thank you for watching. There will be a lot more gift ideas coming soon. Thanks. Bye. Hey, everyone. We're going to make some more snowflake soaps today. Why? Because I'm still very behind, and this one was already filmed. So I'm still hoping to get a couple more Halloween ones in there. But we have to go with some winter soaps again. They're different, though. So I apologize, and yet I don't think there's much to apologize for by the time you see the end, because they are really pretty, and they definitely have a different look to them than the last snowflakes I filmed, which if you did not see, you should go see because they're really beautiful. I believe I called those crystal snowflakes or something like that, crystal candy snowflakes maybe. Anyway, I'm going to call these pastel snowflakes because that's what they end up being. The snowflakes themselves have the color, and the background is super clear and has a little bit of sparkle to it. You'll see. But why is it so super clear? I get a lot of people asking me this question about how is your soap so clear, and that's a very complex answer. But my biggest response is I use a soap that's really, really clear. um, Wholesale Supplies Plus makes is the manufacturer of Crafter's Choice craft supplies, and Crafter's Choice Premium Crystal Clear Melt and Pour soap is the clearest I've found. You may have found a clearer. I have not. So this is what I use, and then I take very many careful steps to not allow it to get cloudy. I don't add oils. I do add fragrance oil, but I don't add too much fragrance oil. And I make sure that I add it at a point where it can be stirred in sufficiently. Um, there is such thing as adding it in at too high of a temperature. There's also such thing as adding it in at too low of a temperature. And you have to find the right balance. Also, the fragrance oil can make a difference. There's some of them you can use easily and it's clear. And when I find one that is very clear, when it's in the soap, I make note of it and I use those fragrances a lot. Doesn't mean I don't try new ones, but I tend to try them before I make a great big batch of soap now. I've made the mistake a couple of times of not doing that and getting a clear-ish soap and not been real thrilled, or a clear-ish yellowish soap and not being very thrilled with that. So it's not that I haven't um, made mistakes, but I have learned my lesson. You are best off to test your soaps. It's difficult in smaller batches because you're talking about very small percentages, but you can do it. Um, I I keep my fragrance oils at a 1% also, so that helps. Sometimes, like, look at the goat's milk soap I have going on here. I do, as I said in the beginning, I'm using the goat's milk soap. It's still Crafter's Choice, and it's their premium goat's milk version. I don't care for the um, basic. I do like the detergent free, but in a soap like this, where it's going to be embedded in a higher melting point clear, I prefer not to push my luck at not melting it. So I make sure those embeds are with the premium. It it still has a little bit of a less of a um, lower melting point, in my opinion, with or my experience, I should say. It's not an opinion. Um, than the clear, but it's a higher melting point than the detergent free for sure. Um, at least in my microwave. Um, I but back to the goat's milk. If you're using a soap like this, that's a white base and it's got colorants added as well, you can probably get away with a little bit more fragrance oil, as long as it isn't a fragrance oil that has a lot of vanillin in it, or vanillin, or whatever you want to say, because that's going to turn it brown no matter what color the soap is to start with. But it in if it's just going to make it a little cloudy or a little twinge yellow or whatever, it's not going to matter in the snowflake part. Where it matters is in the clear portion. So I might add more fragrance oil to an embed like this, especially one that's so large it could make a difference. I know some people who won't add fragrance oil to the clear at all. They'll just rely on the embed. I like to add some to the clear as well, because that's the first thing you're going to smell. And but I always keep it at a low percentage, and again, use my experience and um, I don't know, use my noggin, I guess, with which fragrance oils to choose. It's a little bit of both, I think, with both experience and just a knowledge and understanding of what types of fragrance oils are not going to work so well in crystal clear soap. Um, in this one, I'm using icy peppermint, and I don't think I've ever had a peppermint fragrance that discolored, unless it was something. I think buttermint candies will discolor a little bit because it's got vanillin in it, because it smells like buttermint candies. Smells divine, and I use it a lot in my sugar scrubs. But it is uh, it definitely very vanilla, so that'll turn it. But if it's just a plain peppermint, it's at least in my experience, the ones I've tried and used, it's not going to discolor your clear unless you use too much, or don't stir it enough, or stir it in too late when it's already cooling off too much. That can make it cloudy. Um, what happens if you stir it in when it's too hot is that you burn off some of the constituents of the fragrance. So you're going to have, it's not going to explode or anything. You're just going to have, you're going to lose a lot of your fragrance. That's all. Don't let that flashpoint word and number scare you. It's just you want to be mindful of what you're putting in, what temperature you're putting your fragrance oils in, so that your fragrance is, doing something, because you'd hate to put it in and waste your money and not have it smell. And yes, you can add it in smaller amounts and have it come through, especially if you're paying attention to that flash point. So that is, there's my fragrance oil discussion for the day. I don't know how I got off on that subject, but um, as I was pouring each of these, you noticed I poured from the same big batch of clear. So I made the batch of clear and then poured off in little cups as I went. I never had to at that point. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not clear, of the goat's milk. I didn't have to reheat it, but I sort of did at the very end. The green one, you saw me pulling out. Um, the end, it was dried into the pitcher, and I just kind of pulled out the scraps, and that became, I reheated it in the little silicone cup. And again, if you have not worked with me on these before with the little silicone cups, 5 seconds at a time. You'll probably get sick of hearing me say that, but I've been using them a lot lately, and I just want to make sure everybody understands you can't heat them for long periods of time. You will boil your soap, or burn it, or I don't know what. It's awful, and that does not smell good, and it doesn't make good soap. In fact, it sometimes doesn't even end up as a soap at the end. It'll end up like plastic, and it won't even lather, not at all, like zero lathering. Okay, so back to what you're seeing on screen. Um, 129, I guess, is what I poured the very base at, because it doesn't so much matter the little base of these. You're just pouring a very thin layer here. I'd say um, about a quarter of an inch, maybe a little bit less. I don't know, but you see, I did, you can't see these really well, and I apologize. The lighting isn't great at this portion of it, but in a moment you'll definitely see it. I did add the super sparkles, just a tiny, tiny bit, just like I did with if you watched my fall soaps, which you see that this was made at the same time because you see the acorns up at the top of the screen. Those are from those fall soaps. I did all of this on the same day. Um, Way too many soaps in the same day. And the ghosts too, the Christmas trees. All of that was the same day. And so anyway, in those fall soaps, if you remember, I added a tiny bit of sunshine sparkle, or sparkle sunshine. I always get it confused. Apologize so much, Mad Micas, that I can never remember the correct name of that gorgeous sparkle that is pretty much my favorite of anything, at least of a sparkly one. It's definitely up there as my top couple of colorants to use. Um, but so this is the sun. This isn't the sunshine sparkle because that's a gold. This is the sparkle plenty, and it's more of a kind of a silvery white It's just sparkle. It's just glitter. Oh my gosh, is it pretty? But all it takes for a soap like this is the tiniest amount. So 135 was the real quick to the number from the bucket. That was the temperature of the bucket. I then went to each of these and measured the temperature there, and it said I think like 125, 124 each one, because it had cooled off that quickly, pouring a quarter of an inch and then spritzing. I know pouring it as an inch measurement type of thing is kind of weird for most people, but you're looking at the mold. You can see how high up the little wall that you're going. And it's kind of easier than trying, for most of us, than trying to put your entire mold onto a scale of some kind. My scale is not that big. It's not going to hold soaps like that in a mold that has um, was it multi cavities like that. It's just not going to work. So instead of weighing, you've got to eyeball it or measure it some other way. So I measure it by looking at how high up the mold I'm going. And then because I knew it was about 124, 125 when I was putting them in, I knew that wouldn't melt those, especially if I sprayed it quickly because they were cooler. They're going to cool it off further. They're not going to be heating it up. It's not going to stay at 125. The minute you're putting something in, it's going to start cooling it. Um, so I knew those were safe to put in without melting the snowflakes. But as I went here, obviously that was just a minute ago at 135. I think now it's cooled down to 129. But I'm 129 can still melt soap, and it can still melt the premium goat's milk as well. So I was very, very careful coming in here, and I would pour just a little bit at a time. Now you might see me, I'm kind of pouring in the little corners of the snowflake, and there is enough room just at the point for it to go around to the other sides. So sometimes you won't see me pour in each one. I'll pour every other or something. I'm trying to keep it fairly balanced. Um, as far as the level goes, and just go around and also not keep pouring the hot on hot because it's not going to have as much of a chance to cool. So that's why I'm going around each snowflake with just a tiny bit of that clear. Spritzing it immediately with the alcohol does not only help it to cool fast so it won't melt the snowflakes, but it also helps it to spread. So it will help it go around that corner of the point of the snowflake and go into the next little cavity that's there. It's not really a cavity, but it sort of is, into the little corner parts. So we're slowly filling it that way and avoiding the snowflakes melting. The other reasons we're pouring in those little corners is because you do not want to pour on top of your snowflake, not at that temperature. You want it to be well below the melting point before you risk doing that, or at least be below it somewhat. Doesn't have to be well below it, but it really does need to be below it. So, um, because the uh, soaps in general from Wholesale Supplies Plus give a 120 to 125. This is Fahrenheit we're talking. And it gives 120 to 125 as a range for most of these soaps. And so really might be pushing it to pour at 120 even, but not, I have not found that. Maybe with the detergent free ones, but with the premiums, you're probably good to pour it at like 124, one, 1 122, somewhere in there, be pretty good. And it, don't forget, it cools as I'm pouring. That bucket is still cooling. I'm spritzing it as I go. And none of them melted. There might have been one little wisp on one of them I thought I caught, but it was really hard to find, and it might have just been my imagination. But you can see when I bring them up. I will tell you this at the end of this video, when I come to bring the snowflakes up for you to see, it starts getting glitchy again. And I mean real glitchy. I mean, it's like a slideshow. It's like a slideshow from the 1990s, maybe the 80s, maybe the 70s. It's bad. So I apologize up front. Um, I did add, you do get enough of the image to see it like it's a slideshow. You want to see each soap up close, I think, I hope. I do when I'm watching a video, I like to see the soaps close up. Um, one quick thing I'll mention while they're in the molds like this, once I put the snowflakes in, you get this image of a reflection of the color. It looks like I magically changed the color background, and I didn't. It's literally just a reflection. And once I pull them out, you'll see that there is no purple in the background. There is no green in the background of these soaps. It is literally just a reflection. This is how clear and shiny and cool those the crystal clear is. And I don't know, it might do it with other soaps too. I have no idea. I've never seen that effect before. It looks really clear. I mean, really cool, but really clear once I pull them, which here's where the glitches start. But also here is where you'll see them up close. I want you to take note of the clarity because again, it's really clear and beautiful. And see if, oh, I guess I'm not pulling them up close yet. I'm still just trying to get them out of the mold. See if you can see how little of the Sparkle Plenty I added. You can definitely see it in there, even in the glitchy, awful mess that they do get clearer. There are clear pictures of it, I promise. And then I do add 2 pictures at the end of that I took um, while I was filming. And you'll I also there's a really good one of that one. I also took a picture, well, not a picture, but in here there is an image of me taking the picture. It would have been an actual video had it not been so glitchy, but it ended up looking like a picture of me taking a picture. But I thought it looked cool, so I left it in there. There's the purple one. Can you see the little bits of glitter? I know you can see it at the end fairly well. If you added much more than that, it's going to start looking cloudy a little bit. It gives it a little bit of cloud if you add too much glitter. I love sparkle. Trust me, I love it more than life itself, or at least as much as. Um, I am a glitter freak. I love it. But I also know that using it wisely is the best effect. There are times where you can use oodles of glitter and it's fine, but in something that is clear that you're trying to show off an embed, it's really not the time to do it. Um, it muddies the picture. Uh, it's just a little just masks it a little too much. So just enough to where that sparkle catches the light. And if you had one of these in your hand, you would definitely see that. They look so cool. Um, I do plan as I'm, you're seeing the last few images ish here. I do plan to do another batch of soaps with these snowflakes. And what I'm thinking of doing, I'm not going to give the whole thing away, but let's just say I am going to be using um, a what do you call it now? I am going to be using a slab mold, and I am going to be using a lot of snowflakes. And this is going to be a take on another soap I've done before, but different. I'll just leave it at that. And here, I didn't even get to do my usual banner picture as I usually do with at the end with because that's as far as it went. It just stopped it, and then it goes to another image or so. And I took them after I did take banner pictures, but that was afterward. I ended up taking some, and I didn't know this had glitched, so I'm really glad I took them because that would have been sad to not have one. I love the colors together. The pastel look is very cool. I feel like that has been, at least I've read that it's a trend again this year with having, not traditional Christmas colors. And these pastel kind of colors seem to be pretty big at Christmas time again this year. They were last year too, as at least so I've been told. And so there is me taking a picture of those 4 soaps. I thought they looked really pretty together, and I thought that image looked kind of neat, so I thought I'd show it to you. I have 2 more pictures for you, and then I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your time with me, and thank you for liking and subscribing if you would, and I will see you again real soon. Thanks. Bye. Hey everyone, we're going to make some Christmas soaps today. I'll sneak back into Halloween before Halloween, I promised, at least one more time. But we have a very brief, for me anyway, a brief video and 2 soaps to make. So luckily, a lot of the work has already been done. Any of you who saw my Christmas Easy Trees soap, then you will kind of get the routine of what I did here. These are just shredded soaps. I poured different colors, all with the same scent. I just poured off a little bit at a time and colored it separately, and poured them into the little pink rectangle molds and shredded them with a large hole shredder. It's important for this look that you use the larger holes of the variety of cheese graters, vegetables graters, whatever you want to call them. Obviously, not one that's been used for cheese or vegetables because you do not want to cross contaminate your soaps and food. They do not go well together, and you'll end up with something rotten, even if you think you've cleaned it extremely well. Not a good idea, especially with something like a grater. Um, Other things are a little easier to sanitize than something like that. Anyway, so I shredded those different colors. I mixed them up. I put them. This is basically the leftovers. This is all that I have left from what I made. I made extra for a make and take, and I'm glad I did because I got to play for myself and make some of those beautiful Christmas trees, and I got to do a few extra soaps. The first extra soap isn't anything really crazy. Really, neither one of them are, but boy, they came out really pretty. And there are some things I'm going to do with, especially with this first soap you see me making. I'm going to be doing what I think is a cute packaging idea. It's not something, um, you know, that nobody's ever heard of or ever done before, but I think it'll be cute. So, and I did not. I'm going to have to tell you about it because I didn't get to it yet, which means there's no photographs of them or packaged, and you'll just have to take my word for it. And you can look at my YouTube, what do you call it? The YouTube community page where I post things, and I will put pictures of them when they are packaged, so you'll get a chance to see what I'm talking about. But basically, I just poured just like I did with the Christmas trees, poured half full of fairly hot soap, not hot enough to melt them, but they would be hot enough to melt them if you only put a few in. It only saved them because I put it in about, I think 130 was the soap I was pouring at, and may have been a little higher, like 132. But I poured halfway and then shoved all those scraps in at once, um, and spritzed with alcohol to help get it cool, and then topped. It's taking me a long time to top this because I'm going slowly. This is sped up, obviously, a little bit, but I took my time to pour it on so I wouldn't melt the top embeds, the top shreds. The colors are all listed individually in my other soap, my other video, sorry, which I will be linking at the end of this if you want to watch, if you didn't see how the easy trees were made. Um, Give that a watch because it does list as you see the colors being poured out, you will see the name of the color, that type of thing. So it goes a little more in depth with that and where these little shreds came from and all that good stuff. So I just, the only thing I might not have listed in there is, well, no, I did. While I was adding the sparkles in there, one was Sunshine Sparkle, and the other was Sparkle Me Plenty. So the one that's gold is the Sunshine Sparkle, and the one that's a more white-ish in nature is Sparkle Plenty. I don't know why I said me plenty. That's not right because it's not. Anyway, here's all the sparkle all over my hands because that's me. Um, so this is, believe it or not, this is the start. As I ended the second soap, this is the start of the next one. This one came out so cool, and it just looks how boring. She's just trimming her Christmas trees. And yes, I am just trimming the Christmas tree molds. There's a little bit of spillover. I'm not great at being completely accurate without getting a little bit of something on the edge of the mold, so I always trim them. In my opinion, far easier to trim before you pull them out than after. depending on how much is left. And I like the backs of the trees smooth. It makes them easier to wrap. And particularly if you're putting a label on the back, it makes that label lie flatter. So there's that. And I do that with each of the sets of colors I made. And I'm starting to develop a little pile of really pretty looking but tiny little scraps. And I kept noticing them and how cool the colors looked together, which they look pretty together in the one in the brambleberry mold there too, but I don't know, something about that, the extra added clear, or the smaller sized bits, or the ratio of blue to red. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what was so attractive about it to me, but it was quite attractive. I was sitting there looking at that thinking, that looks like candy and I want to eat it. But I didn't, because I know better than that. But I did know also that I had to do something with it. I couldn't just, well, I wouldn't toss it, but I couldn't just put it in a regular old scrap soap. I wanted to do something special with it. My initial thought, and you'll see I'm getting the soap out here and ready while I'm kind of trimming these last ones a little bit more, because I thought, "Oh, I can just put those in a Christmas tree. That'll be pretty." And it would have been very pretty. I think it would have looked really nice, but I don't think it would have matched the stunning look of what I make next. And you know, you probably saw the picture in the thumbnail, but these I think are some of the prettiest snowflakes I've ever made, and I've made a lot of snowflake soaps, but these are so far my very favorite. And I have some amazing snowflake molds, just gorgeous, really intricate and detailed. Um, but what I really like about these, and I don't know how much detail you can see on the screen with these, but they're very crystalline in nature. They look less lacy, and they've got just straight lines coming out from the center. And that doesn't sound super impressive, but when you look through them at whatever you're putting in the mold, it's just really cool. It magnifies the pieces, yes, but it's more than that. It really influences the pattern. It's just beautiful. I think. I feel like it's a little bit of an optical illusion or something when you put them in there and turn them over. They're just beautiful. And so yes, I do plan on trying some other things with these. I already have tried some things. A couple of you may have seen them because I posted them in a few places. I did make some snowflake, excuse me, some snowflake soaps with solid colors and then embed them into a larger clear soap, because these are very small soaps. They would probably work as a little hand soap, a little, you know, hostess gift, or a little soap you put out at a party or something. They but they're small. And so they fit right down inside of my round mold, and I did some soaps, the same mold that I used for my autumn soaps, and they just perfectly fit in there. And I kind of thought they would. That's why I bought them. And those came out really pretty, and you'll see that in a video soon. But but these I don't know whether to embed them in anything or not. I probably won't, but I might. You never know. Um, Obviously stay tuned and you'll see if I do, because if I do, I'll obviously video it. But the look of them was beautiful in the soaps where they were a solid color. They were a pale, and that was the result of half of one. That's the one I ran out of soap. At the very end, I just poured some in, which would still make a really cool looking embed in another soap, just my opinion. So, and then I'm just removing these here, and then I pull them up closer later so you can get a better look at them. Um, gets a little jerky in here, the video, so when they're coming up. So I apologize for that, but it's been doing that to me, and I still haven't figured out why. Um, but I may play with these and see if I can embed them in a soap without destroying the really cool look of the texture on the outside, because if you're putting clear in clear, sometimes things just disappear. Ooh, I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but I did. See, and that's just glitter. I don't know if you saw it, but that's just Sparkle Plenty in the last bit of soap I had, and that's why those two are super sparkly. I added a lot because glitter, and glitter is your friend. But these, I didn't add any glitter to the base when I was doing these. It was just at the very tail end. Um, I don't know. They just look so cool. Do you see the lines coming out from the center? Do you see how dimensional they look and how they kind of, I don't know, they catch the colors underneath and make it look like something really spectacular, in my opinion. I was turning them over just to kind of give you an idea. I don't know if I cover these with something, will it destroy that look or not, that texture. So I may play around with that and see what happens. But that is my new favorite mold because I want to play. It's going to be my favorite winter mold, I'll say, for a while at least, because I have ideas. Um, while I'm getting this one out here, let me tell you a little bit about my plans for it. They're basically kind of like a sample size soap or a little, um, a mini soap. I just divided this as I don't remember if this is a 5 or 6 inch. Anyway, um, I basically cut it into three equal-ish parts. And then from there, I eyeballed it. I didn't care if they were perfect. So, because they might be giveaways. I'm just not sure yet what I'm doing with them. But I cut them in. I know I originally wanted to have them what you see face up, but I kind of liked the inside, so I ended up doing like little mini loaf soaps, sort of. Is the kind of look that you get at the end. But the packaging is what's going to be cool, and that was my vision for when I was cutting these up, like inch after I get these logs cut. Um, then I go and cut them by inch deep and inch wide. No, not wide, inch deep. Wow, my words aren't happening today. I apologize for that, but that's me. Um, So what I'm going to do with them after they are sliced up is I'm going to wrap them in my normal. I prefer to use like a saran wrap type thing. I hate shrink wrapping with a passion, and I know it's user error, so don't come at me. I and I had the best wrapping system that's out there, at least the best one for melt and pour that they say, but I had a hard time not melting them. So, and it also strained my back really seriously to stand and do these, and they were hard to do sitting and not see what you're doing. And anyway, so I don't use that anymore. I wrap them like I did when I first started making soaps. I wrap them in a saran wrap. I pull it quite tightly, um, quite tight, but not enough to make any holes or anything. And then I tape it at the back and put my label over that. Um, but these I'm going to wrap with a plastic wrap. It is at least an environmentally friendlier plastic. It is BPA free, the one I'm using currently. Um, but uh, after I wrap it and put my label on, I'm going to put a bow on it, not just like on the top. I'm going to wrap it like a package, like a how you wrap with, like when you wrap a uh, old fashioned box with string around it and you crisscross it so it looks like a plus sign, sort of. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do that with red ribbon, and then at the top a little bow, and then around that little bow I'm going to put a little tag that says a gift for you or something like that. And I think they will look absolutely adorable like that. I will show you, even if they don't turn out as adorable as I'm hoping. I'll show you anyway, since I said that's what I was going to do. Um, they look really cool. They look pretty. I think they'd make nice little giveaways or little gifts or something. So I'm sure somebody will benefit from from these, or I'll use them all myself. I mean, it has happened. But they will be. I think they'll be really fun when you get the little outside decoration. I have done soaps in the past where I did make a ribbon of soap and put around it. That's too difficult for what I'm dealing with, so I'm not going to do that this time. It looks really adorable, but I'm not doing it. At least not this go around. So I know this was a very short video, but I just had to share this snowflake mold with you. I will be putting the link to it in my Amazon shop. And I mean, the link to it will be in the description box, but the link will lead you to my Amazon shop, which I will receive a kickback for if you purchase through that. If you just want to search on Amazon and find the beautiful little white snowflake molds, just keep in mind they're kind of shallow and they're not a large soap. They are perfect for an embed or a small little sample soap or a small little, you know, hand soap for Christmas or winter or whatever you want. But don't eat them even though they look like candy. Thanks for sticking around with me, and I will see you next week, hopefully with the Halloween soap. Thanks. Bye.